All right, so I'm multiplying through -1 times -3. I haven't done anything with this one yet. -1 times -3 is +3. Agreed? Okay. So I've cleaned it up quite a bit. I see brackets again. Inside the brackets, 3 plus 3 is 6. And I've got one last step to do. The 4 and with the brackets side by side, that's another way to indicate multiplication as we saw before. So a 4 times 6 gives me a 24 for a value, and it'll be a -24, right? I'm just going to put my equal sign to show my math progression. So answer -24. Questions or comments? Now you might have done you might have skipped 2 steps when you were doing this on your own or combined 2 steps to one. That's okay, as long as you come up with the same answer. Whatever you're doing mathematically is sound. Okay, let's take a look at this number 11. It's actually a little more complicated looking. Number 11 says 3 times in brackets 1 minus 4 plus 3 times 7 minus 2, and then divided by -2. So again, I see brackets inside brackets. I see a bracket and a bracket here. So those are inside brackets. I'm going to do those first. So everything else is going to get rewritten. Okay, so +1 and -4 results in a -3. And a +7, -2 results in a 5. So that's my second step. It doesn't look that much better, but it is a little bit better.
Oh, that's a -2 there.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. So now I still have these brackets inside brackets, but these brackets are indicating what? Multiplication. So I'm going to record my big set of brackets here. I have 3 times -3 will be a -9. 3 times 5 is a +15. And I still haven't dealt with the divide by -2 yet. Okay. Almost there, right? Inside my brackets, I have a -9, a +15, which results in a +6. Now I can leave my brackets here, divided by -2. You could say, oh yeah, there's a multiplication indicated by the brackets, but it's just times 1, right? So it's not going to change anything. 6 divided by -2? -3. Okay. That's it. So I'm sensing, I know we have a couple new people here, I'm sensing that, how many people completed this whole thing? A couple people? Okay. So I have this worksheet you guys can practice a bit more on, and the rest of you can try and catch up with what we've done before. I do want to do one of 12, 13, or 14 because I don't think we did one of those yesterday for an example. We sort of did, but not really. So I just want to talk to you again about kind of a quirky thing in math again, another quirky thing. When we have something like 12 or 13 or 14, they're all the same. They have a couple of numbers on the top, one number on the bottom. Here, two values on top, 2 values on the bottom. So that bar also means division, right? A fraction represents, like a fraction is composed of a numerator, denominator, separated by the division symbol. So it's actually, even though there's 2 numbers in a fraction, like for example, 1/2, that really represents one value. 1 divided by 2, that's really the value 0.5, right? Or on a number line, this 1/2, it only represents one spot on the number line, right? If this is 1 and this is 2, this is where that number is represented, right? So the 1/2. So what I'm saying is, even though a fraction can look complicated and have many different parts, in the end it can be summarized by one number over the other, and that number itself then can be divided to get a decimal representation. So when you have a complicated fraction, and I mean more than one value in the numerator or in the denominator, it's understood that there are brackets here. Okay? It's implied. That's the word, it's implied. Meaning, when something's implied, it's not written out, just like that 1, right? When we had this -1 up here, when I had a negative here, it's implied that there's a 1 there, but it's not written. Same with these quirky brackets, right? So what I always do when I'm doing a question, I add my brackets in myself, because the question will never have those brackets in. And when you look at textbooks, they won't be in there, but it's implied there's brackets there. And what do brackets tell you to do? Do it first, right? So this one, it would be my -18, +10, that would be a -8.
-4.
And -8 divided by 2 becomes a -4. Right? Okay, try number 13.
I got a question.
Yeah?
Why is it -3? Is it when there's like a +6 in?
We covered that in the first first lesson, and you can look at my notes. If you're adding numbers like negatives and positives together, if the signs are different, the answer will be the difference between these two numbers. So the difference between 3 and 6, 6 minus 3 is 3, okay? And the sign follows the largest value, so that answer would be +3. If I had this, 3 minus 6, that's a positive, that's a negative. The difference is still 3, but this time the 3 would be negative, because the 6 is bigger than the 3. You can look at the notes from lesson 1 too, because it kind of explains it a little more. Okay, so what do we have here? What'd you get for the numerator, the top number first? +6, -22. -16, right? Okay, what's on the bottom? -14, +10. -4. Okay, so now I've got +4. Math can be a beautiful thing, right? It's very logical, step by step by step. You're taking something very, sometimes large and complicated, filled with many symbols, and every step gets reduced to something simpler. So you're left with this just one pure little number, right? Okay, let's try this last one, and then I'm going to give you some work time to either finish these guys, also to work on this, because I have another set of practice questions for you. Okay, what do your eyes see here?
You gotta put the brackets here on 8 minus 3 and 9.
Yeah, I would think of this as we just said, there's brackets here, right? So my eyes see brackets, they see some multiplication, they see a division, right? The only thing I don't see here is exponents. Right? So take a minute and record your first line of work. I'm also going to just mention at this, there's a fire drill scheduled for 2 o'clock. So that comes at the tail end of class. So if you guys want to grab your books, and leave. You can just leave when the fire bell rings. If it happened in the middle, then we would come back to this. Okay, if you just did the first line and you kind of followed bedmass, I'm thinking that your first line of work would show, I can't do anything with this yet. I've got my negative 15 over a 5, and then you might just even leave this too, because this just involves multiplication. So that's where I would kind of show my first line of work. Now my eyes see there's nothing to do inside brackets. I have these brackets that indicate multiplication, right?
You could go 3 across.
Pardon me?
You could go 3 across, right? Well,
Yeah.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I would say, I see this division here, right? I see division here, and I see multiplication here, which were equal powers, right? We recognized that yesterday, and I would just do them in the order then left to right, like we read. So this is kind of a weird one. We haven't seen this yet. So I have 7, subtract. I've got negative 15 over positive 5. That gives me negative 3. And then I have negative 2 times negative 3, positive 6. Now, this is very similar to multiplying by a negative, right? This is, if you ever have 2 signs in front of a number, the 2 negatives are going to result in, this is the same as multiplying positive. If I had a plus minus, it would be a negative. If the signs are mixed, the negative overrules. 2 negative signs.
But the 3 is still in brackets, right? Like minus
You could
6.
put a 3, you could put it in brackets, yeah. Okay, so you've got 2 negatives making a positive. Because there's no other number attached to this, right? It's just floating. So it's 7 plus 3 plus 6.
27.
Okay, so I have 7, they're all positive numbers, right? So 7 and 3 and 6, 16.
So you don't do anything like the
That threw me
7 and 3,
off.
you don't multiply them or anything, it just changes
Yeah.
the 3 into a plus.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a minus though, since the negative is on the opposite side of the 7?
No. No. This negative sign it's in front of the 3, so they both turn the 3 into the positive. It doesn't belong to the 7.
Why did you factor by 1? Like, wouldn't you assume there's supposed to be a 1 there, then after the negative?
Yeah, so let's put here. Let's do that. So anytime, how about this? Anytime you have 2 signs in front of a number, because a number only has 1 sign associated with it, right? If you have double signs, place brackets around there, like that. And then, Cliff, that becomes a 1, you're right. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't really belong, right? That kind of goes against the math laws, 2 signs in front of a number. So place brackets around that sign, or that number, sorry. So we've done, or we've kind of been exposed to 3 lessons so far. I think probably the first one is the most complicated, but adding and subtracting integers, because you have to really be careful of what you're doing, right? If the signs are the same, you're totaling the values up. If the sign just stays the same. If the signs are different, you subtract the numbers, the big value minus the small value. Like here, the big number minus the small number, both cases, both times you're gonna get a 3. Then you have to go back and see which value was bigger, right? And the answer, the sign of the answer follows the bigger value. Multiplying, dividing have their own set of rules. Right. Multiplying 2 positives make a positive. Multiplying 2 negatives result in a positive. Mixed signs always will result in a negative sign. And the same rules apply for division, right? It's just except for division, the setup's different, right? Positive over positive yields positive. Negative over negative yields positive. And if the signs are mixed, the answer will be negative. Then we mixed everything up too, right? So we've got 3 lessons, so 3 assignments worth to play around with and work on. And I know most people haven't finished everything. And even if you have, I just printed off one of these, and this is just for your practice, just to get a bit more practice. So working with integers, we've got combining, they've got a little bit of multiplication, a little bit of division, and then a couple of mixed. Now the answers are given to you, right? So you can check your work, so it's just for practice. If you notice, a couple of times we have that weird thing happening. Most of the time, your brackets are included right around a negative sign, like in number 26, you'll see. But then a couple of times we have those weird things appearing too, just so you can get used to that too, right? I've got this double negative happening, so I would just bracket that off so it doesn't look so weird, and then you kind of know what to do again, right? I think that only appears those few times, right? That's it. Okay, so I'm going to hand that out to you.